At the end of your life, you will never regret not having passed one more test, winning one more verdict, or not closing one more deal. You will regret time not spent with a husband, a child, a friend, or a parent.
Today, the country is remembering one of the most beloved first ladies in modern history. Thank you for joining us. I'm Cindy Sexton.
And I'm David Carroll. Barbara Bush died at her home in Houston last night at the age of 92. A family spokesperson says she had been suffering with congestive heart failure. The former First Lady touched a lot of lives everywhere she went, including here in Chattanooga.
Those who knew her tell Kate Smith they're remembering her as a great woman who loved her family dearly.
Cindy, Tom Grissom was Ronald Reagan's communication director in the 1980s, while Barbara's husband was vice president. He spent plenty of time with Barbara Bush. Grissom remembers her as a bold woman who treated everyone with love and respect, no matter which side of the aisle you were on.
She understood what her husband did, and she said, I've got a household to run. And she did it.
Barbara Bush holds a special place in the hearts of millions of Americans.
Her husband had the strong political image, that was there, but she was that anchor. She was that rock that held it all together.
Tom Grissom spent 2 years in the White House, often running into Barbara. He vividly remembers the day then President Ronald Reagan came home from delivering the famous Berlin Wall speech. On the White House lawn, Second Lady at the time, Barbara Bush, proudly welcomed everyone home.
There she stood, welcoming not just the President, First Lady, everybody who'd been on that trip. She stood there and shook everybody's hand.
Mrs. Bush didn't only spend her time in the White House. She made almost a dozen stops to the scenic city. In 2000, she was here when President Bush threw out the first pitch at the Lookout Stadium.
And autographed balls before the game, and it was the very first game in that park.
Grissom remembers former First Lady as sincere, but not afraid to speak her mind.
I hope they look at Mrs. Bush and say, this is what I hope my mother is like. Stern if you need to be, caring, give me that hand up when you need it, but also be willing to say, you maybe shouldn't have done this, you might want to think about doing it different the next time.
The loss of her light and love felt by her family is also shared by all who knew her, from the people whose lives were changed by her leadership to her passion through her work in literacy.
Because if you can read, if you can write, if you're literate, you can be anything you want to be. I mean, that's why she continued doing that long after she had left the White House.
Friday, the public will have the chance to say a final goodbye. Saturday, there will be a private funeral, and Mrs. Bush will be buried in College Station at her husband's presidential library on the Texas A&M University campus. And coming up at 5:30, David Carroll looks back on her 2002 visit to Chattanooga in support of Boyd Buchanan School. But for now, I'm live in the studio. Kate Smith, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
President Trump ordered the flags lowered to half-staff in honor of former First Lady Barbara Bush. Now, Friday, Mrs. Bush will lie in repose at St. Martin's Episcopal Church in Houston, where members of the public can pay their respects. First Lady Melania Trump will attend a private ceremony on Saturday.
A Dallas woman who was Barbara Bush's personal aide shares her personal memories of the former First Lady. Catherine Branch says she worked for Barbara Bush for 3.5 years. Branch says each day was wonderfully unpredictable. She said Mrs. Bush had quick wit and she truly loved her family.
I don't think she really liked the fame. I think she could have been a happy camper, not being in the limelight her entire life. As she said, I am the luckiest woman because of George Bush. He has given me the world. He's let me travel to places I would have never traveled to before, met people, seen things. She gives him all the credit.
Branch says Mrs. Bush loved to relax around her home by wearing her kids' tennis shoes, reading a book, or doing her puzzle. And I had the opportunity to meet the former First Lady when she was here in 2007. Coming up on Eyewitness News at 6, I'll share a little story behind this picture. And for more stories on how local leaders are remembering Barbara Bush, visit our WRCB app.